NBA Hall of Famer Dave Bing will be joining us later in the show, but we start the show with what was a pretty entertaining Monday Night Football game between two pretty bad teams. It took this drive, that completion, to Jakobi Meyers, and this kick to beat the New York Jets that don't have a single win. Now, we've been talking about this year as sort of an audition year, a pivotal point in the career of Cam Newton. What have you seen from him thus far that has concerned you?
Well, if they'd have lost to the Jets, boy, media would have slandered he and Bill Belichick's name all day, all week until they played another football game. And I came into the season feeling like even though the Patriots have limited weapons on the outside, Edelman's out, don't have a true run game consistently, that Cam would catapult himself back into the top 10 quarterbacks of the NFL, Jacoby, and I was wrong. Looking at his throws, some overthrows, some throws at the ground, some inaccuracies, and we know that Cam has dealt with some shoulder issues. We know he's dealt with COVID, so probably any of that can have an effect. And by the way, if you look at the lower 10 or 12 teams, yes, he could probably be starting for one of them. And by the way, the Jets were starting Joe Flacco yesterday. So there is a starting job for Cam as long as he's rushing the way he's rushing and scoring the way he's scoring, second in the league in rush touchdowns. But as it relates to going to the Patriots, playing one season and then getting signed by a contender, at this point, based on his productivity, I don't see that happening right now.
And we are only halfway through the season, so there's a lot of GMs watching his performance. But when you have Jake Luton and Garrett Gilbert starting at quarterback, there's a starting spot for Cam. But as you mentioned, it's probably not in one of those top-tier teams. But we're rooting for you, Cam, and he has improved ever since he got over COVID, which I think is something that we cannot overlook that you mentioned. Now, Jalen, you know I'm not going to move on to the next topic without celebrating a fellow Jacoby. This time it's Jakobi Meyers. Jakobi Meyers had himself a game. Cam just went back to Jakobi, back to Jakobi, back to Jakobi. And when they needed a real crucial play, guess who got the ball? Jakobi Meyers. Now, I haven't repped for Jakobi the way I normally do for Jakobi's because he hasn't performed up to it, but he was great last night. I look forward to him in the second half of the season. I look forward to him in the second half of the season doing what he did last night over and over again. Now, Jalen, we go to another team, the Buccaneers. And one thing I found so interesting about that terrible, terrible loss was the quarterback play of Tom Brady, one of his worst games. And here is what his head coach, Bruce Arians, said about him and his targets, or lack thereof, of Mike Evans.
Mike was open a bunch in that ball game. He just didn't get targeted. That's all. He was open. Mike was open.
Mike was open. Oh, he was open. He just didn't get targeted. That sounds like the head coach criticizing the greatest quarterback of all time that he just brought in. Jalen, what do you think about Arians' words about Tom Brady targeting Mike Evans?
The song that was playing in my head was Nipsey, Grinding All My Life. And I was thinking playing sports my entire life. And what I see from the Bucs is going to resemble what we saw from the Clippers. They're going to come up short of expectations. This team will not win the Super Bowl, Jacoby. Just think about this. When you're Tom Brady and you decide to go to the Buccaneers, a lot of the reasons why you decide to go there, Bruce Arians has a history with great quarterbacks, Godwin and Evans on the outside. Once you get there, they're like, all right, embrace us, build us up, and show us how to get some of that 6-time championship mojo. And then when y'all struggle and you yelling at the offensive line, and then you putting up the number 4 when the game is over, now they looking at you like, all right now. And Mike Evans like, okay, so you brought in Gronk, you brought in AB, we needed to sign Fournette. I was an all-pro before Tom Brady got here. As a matter of fact, the phone is ringing. It's Mike Evans' crew. And they're going to remember a phone conversation, Jacoby, that they had. What did Mike Evans, being me, call you his friend and say when Tom Brady became his quarterback?
So I'm Mike Evans' best friend. I'm like, Mike, you did great last year, but you've got the GOAT throwing to you now. You're going for 20 touchdowns. You're going to solidify yourself as the best receiver in the league. Mike Thomas who? DeAndre Hopkins who? This is going to be the best year of your career. You're going to get a new contract. You're going to buy a new house. You're going to buy me a house. That's how much money you're going to get. This is going to be the best year of your career. I can't wait to ride your coattails for the rest of my life.
That phone conversation ain't going the way he thought. He only got targeted like 17 times the last 4 games. And he and Godwin were a dynamic duo when Jameis wasn't throwing the ball to the other team. And by the way, didn't they play the Saints the other day? And the Saints didn't just win. They waxed the Bucks. They waxed them twice. So again, it's only halfway through the season. They have some terrific talent on their team. Their defense, as you know, as you've lauded, has put pressure on the quarterback when they've had opportunities. But I don't see this, just like the Clippers as a team, that's going to put all of these parts into a first season like Kawhi's with the Clippers, like Brady's with the Bucks, and win it all. It's not going to happen this year.
One dynamic I love about this is Tom Brady is famously hard on his teammates. He expects the most from everyone around him. We've seen the videos. We know his reputation. And I can't wait to practice on Tuesday where they're looking, oh, you're going to yell at us now, Tom? After that game? You're going to yell at us? You're going to yell at us now, Tom? Because we saw what you did out there. That's kind of on you, not us this time. You're going to yell at us now, Tom? We look forward to them bouncing back again. I'm not going to overreact to one terrible game. The Bucs have a great roster. I think they'll put it together and still be in contention. But Jalen Rose said today, here and now, they will not win the Super Bowl. To another team that definitely is not going to win the Super Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys. Its VP Stephen Jones said that he absolutely unequivocally supports Mike McCarthy being the coach next season, and he went on to say that we like stability. That's why we stayed with Jason Garrett for 10 years. Let me remind you that Jason Garrett was the coach for 9+ years. They won 2 playoff games. He was barely over 500 by about 18 games. Jalen, what do you think about their commitment to Mike McCarthy long term?
You said another word to end with a Y. You said stability. He said absolutely and unequivocally, I'll say mediocrity. How about that? That's what they were when Jason Garrett was their head coach. And Mike McCarthy, though he won a championship with the Green Bay Packers, we know that Jerry Jones wants a coach in that position that if and when they do have success, that he's going to be lauded and gets the lion's share of the credit. That's just what this is. As somebody, by the way, who still hasn't put my guy Jimmy Johnson in the Dallas Cowboy Ring of Honor. So now if you're Mike McCarthy, it's one thing to lose Dak. It's another thing for your football team to struggle. And so it's going to be interesting to see if he can at least get them to play hard like they did against the Steelers the rest of the season.
Well, one thing this comes with for Mike McCarthy is a built-in excuse. Because at the end of the season, when they don't win the East, he can go into the Joneses' office and say, listen, I lost